Hello, I'm Jose, and today I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide on how to make candles at home using natural soy wax from Arts and Crafts USA. So the first step is to make sure that you set your intention, make sure you know how many candles you want to make, and if you want to add fragrance and color. Today I'm going to be using their wine color tin, which is an 8-ounce tin. And I'm going to be using essential oils. I chose rosemary and lemon today. Step 2. What you want to do is make sure that you gather all of the supplies that you need. So you want to make sure that you have your pitcher ready. You want to make sure that you have a digital scale. You want to make sure you have a thermometer. This one is electric. You want to have a measuring cup to pour the wax into the pitcher, and you want to have a measuring cup to pour the fragrance or essential oil so that you can measure it out and add it into the mixture. You want to have a pair of scissors for opening the box and cutting the wick when it's time to cut the wick. You want to have your wick centering device, which comes with the wax. You want to have your adhesive pads to add to the base of the holder, and you want to have your wicks ready. So you want to have it all set up and ready for you, so that way you don't have to go looking for anything afterwards. Step 3 is you want to weigh the wax and measure out the amount of fragrance that's needed. So as you see, each 10-pound bag will come with a pack of 6-inch candle wicks that will automatically have 2 of the wick holders in place. I'm going to set that to the side because I've already taken out the wicks that's needed for the 3 containers here. Awesome. So now you want to grab your scale, place it on the counter. You want to set the unit. I usually set the unit to pound and ounce so I'm able to see both. There we go. So first thing, you want to set the pitcher onto the scale, and then you want to tare. Now you want to proceed with adding the wax into the container, the dry wax chips. So now, since I'm going to be using only 3 candle tins for this project, I'm only going to need 1 pound of candle wax, which is 16 ounces. And you'll just see as you continue to add the wax in. So now I've actually reached 1 pound, which is 16 ounces. So each tin is 8 ounces. So 2 tins will be 16 ounces. However, this is an 8-ounce container and it does have a lid. So once you add the lid to close it, you're going to realize that you will have to reduce the amount of wax that's in there once it's liquefied and you pour it into the container by about 1 ounce. So that means that these candles will be 7 ounces. 21. So now, being that means you need 7 times 3, which would be 21 ounces, and we have 16. So we need to add another 5 ounces on top of that. And don't worry if some soy wax chips fall out onto your counter. Candle making can sometimes be a little messy process, but it's actually very fun, very therapeutic. just make sure I have that right amount in there. Okay, perfect. So that is 21 ounces. I'm gonna set that to the side over here. So now you want to set the wax to the side. You want to give yourself enough space. Get your space clean for the next step. It's good always to set a section to the side where you can just have like, take anything that you need to clean, set it to the side so you don't have to worry about it at the moment. All right, now that we've already added the wax to the container, the next step is to start preparing your tins. So again, this project is going to call for double wicks, 2 wicks for each container. So you're going to need 2 wicks for each container, you're going to need 2 adhesive tabs, and you're going to need 1 of the centering devices. And this process, presetting everything beforehand, will save you a lot of time. As you see, the wick holding devices fit perfectly in these containers. So it'll actually show you where you can place the adhesives. So now the adhesives, once you remove them, the first side, you just stick it to the base. Right there, as you see, you'll stick it to the base of the tin. And then you will remove the top surface layer. There's like a little film, right, that you will remove so that you can expose the top adhesive layer. Then you can proceed to add the wicks. Now you can just slip those right through there. And now you have the first tin ready. So I'll leave that right there just so that you can get a closer view of it while I take the next steps. You can set the tins to the side, the lids, because that way you have more available space. The process is very quick. And the more you familiarize yourself with it, the more often that you make candles, you'll be able to time manage yourself, and it'll go through very quickly. Candle making is a very fun process. It's very therapeutic. It allows you to be very creative. So you want to have fun with it. You don't want to be too serious. Don't be disappointed. If you feel like you make a mistake early on, you know, if you damage a wick, for example, if you add a wick to the adhesive and by any chance if you pull and the wick separates from the metallic holder tin, don't worry about it, it's totally okay. Just remove it and add a new one. So once you're more familiar and you feel like you have mastered the steps of adding the wick to your tin, then you can speed up the process by already having your wax on a low heat, already reducing. And this step of adding the adhesive and the wick can be something you do while the wax is melting, so it saves you some time. But in the beginning, I would never rush through the process. Just take your time getting familiar with every step so that you feel comfortable and that you don't forget anything. All right. So, getting to the last one here. Very simple, very easy process. Voila. So now we have 3 8-ounce tins with a double wick that are ready. So I'm gonna now keep them on their station. So what I usually do is have a designated mat for the tins so they can stay on there. Now, once you're done with your supplies, I would suggest always moving them to a separate section so that you can have more available space for the process of actually pouring the wax into the containers and setting them to dry. So now that you've seen how to apply the adhesive, set the wick and the wick holder, now we're going to pour the oil. So for 16 ounces of wax, the amount of fragrance oil to essential oil that you can use will be 30 ml. So today I'm using lemon essential oil and rosemary essential oil. Very therapeutic, refreshing. And I'm going to keep it very easy. So today I'm just going to do half and half amounts. So I will have 15 ounces of lemon essential oil and I will have 15 ounces of rosemary essential oil. So I have a glass measuring cup right here that has ounces and milliliters. So it's great for you to know the difference. So exactly 1 ounce, 30 ml for every 16 ounces or 1 pound of wax. Now I've been using this system for 2 years now and my candles have been burning perfectly fine. Here we go. So there is 15 ml. And now I'm using the rosemary and I'm going to add, hold on 1 second, here we go. So I'm going to release this and add the remaining 15 ml so I get some 30 ml. Awesome. Perfect. Now the oils can sometimes leave a little residue. So what you want to do is make sure that you wash your hands and use hand sanitizer or either or, whichever you feel more comfortable with, just so that you don't have the residue on your hand and you don't get oil everywhere. So I'm just going to quickly use hand sanitizer. Okay. So now that the wicks are in place, the oil has been measured out. Now it's time to heat up the wax. So I'm working on a gas stove top. Gonna light it and reduce the heat to in between medium and low. So the melting point for the wax is about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The degrees of the temperature needs to be between 180 and 190 when you add the fragrance or the essential oils. So it's been about 2 years since I've made candles, and I've gradually come to this step of realizing that when it reaches 180 to 190, I will turn off the heat, add the essential oils, lightly incorporate it with the wax, and then start pouring it into the containers and then setting it to cool. So now this process of reducing it down, what I found out is you just want to let it reduce down slowly so that the soy wax doesn't burn. You also want to reduce stirring it too much so that way you don't add additional air bubbles into the wax. So you can lightly incorporate it as it reduces down. My favorite tool to use would be a shear, just a piece of wood, kind of like how they use for shish kebab. It's clean, it's natural, it's very fine, so it's a good way to just move the soy wax chips around so that they slowly start to incorporate into the melting wax in the bottom. So I'm going to set that here. Now I'm going to bring my oil to the side in front of me. I'm going to bring the tins closer to me. Now one thing you should notice should be aware of is that because these are tin holders, they will reach the temperature of anything you pour into it very quickly. So be mindful of that. So once the wax has reduced and we've added in the essential oils or fragrance oils, but today is essential oils, and are ready to pour it into the containers, we want to make sure that we use gloves or a mitten, something to keep your hands from getting burnt because the tins will be very hot. Okay, now the scissors I'm going to set to the side because we'll use those later. Thermometer. So once you can see the outer rim of melted wax starting to form, then what you can do is use the little wooden stick and slowly just work it into the melting wax. Now once you become familiar, it becomes something that you're super comfortable with, then again, you can save time by measuring out the wax, setting it on low heat, and now doing the prepping of all the tins first. In between this is a perfect time to look at the space, remove any clutter, remove any trash, anything that's spilled onto the counters, so that you can make the cleanup process quicker and easier for yourself. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, so we're back. So now that the space is cleaned up, I'm going to check the wax, and the wax has melted down. So perfect. The wax has already reached the temperature of 190 degrees, which is perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the essential oils and then lightly incorporate it with the wax. So once you do that, you can check the temperature, and you'll notice that it will drop a few degrees, which is perfectly fine. 180 to 190 is an ideal temperature for the wax to reach when adding in the essential oil or the fragrance so that they incorporate. Now I just want to give it a light stir, right? Just slowly and gently to reduce any air bubbles accumulating in the wax, and slowly incorporating the essential oil. Very refreshing. Rosemary is great. It's therapeutic, it's uplifting to the mind, and the lemon is very refreshing. Okay, this looks well incorporated. So now I'm just going to set that to the side. And now the tins are ready. So the first thing is set your scale. Grab your first tin, place it on the scale. Make sure that it's clean. Okay, make sure you tare. Now, again, be mindful that the tins do become very hot once you incorporate the wax. Now, one thing I noticed is that as you pour, sometimes the wax will drip off the side of the pitcher. So what I normally do is have a paper towel on hand. So that way, as I'm pouring, I can pick up any excess that's spilling out so there's not oil and wax all over the counter. All right, so this is gonna be 7 ounces per container. So I'm gonna start. Okay, let me add that in there so that you can see. So on the scale, I hit tare. Now it's at a 0, so it's ready for me to pour until it reaches 7 ounces. Take your time when pouring. Okay. Awesome. Okay, you can adjust the wick. Now I'm going to set it to the side. I'm going to move the first wick over, the first container over. Now it becomes very warm, so you want to be very mindful of that. Second container, tare, and get ready. Give it a quick little stir, and then continue to pour. Awesome. And we'll continue on to the last one. Okay, tare. All right, this is the last one. All right, gonna set that to the side. Now I'm gonna let that dry, and you'll now let it dry for 12 to 24 hours before you remove the wick holder and then you cut the wicks. Okay, so that is your step-by-step guide on how to use the soy wax to make your own candles at home using Arts and Crafts, soy wax, and their tins. Thank you very much.